Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of the Lugs podcast. I am your host, AJ Evangelista. With me today is my co-host, Ryan Rancola.
Hey.
Basically, we are fans of the sport. Talking NASCAR with you, auto racing, anything in that parameter. We'll be talking race issues, race recaps, fantasy picks, news. I am from a little town in Sarasota County, Florida. Ryan, you want to tell the folks at home where you're from?
I am from Livonia, Michigan, currently living in Plymouth, Michigan, and I've been a fan of the sport since the late 80s, early 90s. My father got me hooked onto racing, and I've been a fan ever since.
Awesome. Speaking of which, who do you cheer for now?
The 88 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the number 2 of the Miller Lite Ford of Brad Keselowski.
I'm right there with you, also a Dale Jr. fan. Next year's going to be tough, though. Not sure who I'm going to be cheering for next year. I'm definitely looking at the 24 and the 5. I think Chase and Byron are going to be something special to watch.
I hear that. I got my eye on the 88. I think Bowman, he did such a great job in that car last year. Well, I want to see what he can do with the full year in that ride. See what he does from there. Go from there. You got that. The 42, I like Kyle Larson, too, as well. So it's going to be a mixture next year. So might watch it just as a casual fan and cheer for anybody but the Toyotas.
Yeah, the Toyotas, especially that 18 car, right?
Yeah, exactly, especially that 18 car. But hey, props to him this weekend. He ran a hell of a race this weekend. So, I'm not going to be all bashing the Toyotas as much as I'd like to on this podcast, but I can't do it. I have to give credit where credit is due, unfortunately. And he ran a great race Saturday night.
Well, we'll definitely get more into that later on. We're going to do like a little Bristol recap. But did you see what they did? Kyle and Samantha Bush did after they were on their way home yesterday.
Yeah, they stopped off and they signed the guy's flag for him and all that. I seen the video of it. It was on I think his Facebook page or NASCAR and NBC Facebook page, and he stopped, signed it. I didn't see the reaction of the gentleman who got that signed though, but I bet you that was a pretty cool surprise for sure.
I tell you, they seem to really lately, I should say, they're real fan oriented. And what I mean by that is when I first started going to races and stuff, I was actually a Kyle fan when he was starting back in 04, 05, when he was in the Nationwide Series or Busch Series then, Xfinity now. And went to a hospitality event at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And he came off as this arrogant guy, wouldn't sign autographs, wouldn't take pictures with anybody. All you got to do was ask him one question. And it definitely seems in the couple years he's been in the sport now, he's matured quite a lot. As much as I still don't like him.
Yeah, exactly. Like what was it, last year at Martinsville when Samantha was recording and the lady had the Kyle Busch hat on, he signed the hat for her. Yeah, it's like I've never seen anybody do that. I mean, I know a lot of the drivers in the sport do that though, but I thought that was a cool gesture for him to do. I don't have to like the guy, but like you said though, he just comes off as an arrogant idiot.
Yeah. There's some times where he makes some bonehead moves, and it makes you just wonder sometimes. But
exactly. And folks, this isn't not going to be the Kyle Busch podcast bashing, so don't worry, folks.
No, you got to give credit to where credit's due. He's reaching ever so closer to the 200 Petty mark, but the one thing against that is Petty did all his in the Cup Series because there was no Xfinity Series, Truck Series back then. So Busch has definitely benefited from that.
Oh, definitely, for sure.
So basically, getting down to it, when did you get into racing, Ryan? What got you into it?
My father got me into it. He was watching a race one day on TV. This was late 80s, early 90s. I think it was the Daytona 500, and I just got really hooked into it. Was watching them on TV, never went to a race. The first time I went out to Michigan International Speedway, it was I was in, let's say 4th or 5th grade maybe. maybe earlier than that, we went out for it was the US 500 at the time. The Indy cars were running out at Michigan International Speedway. And I went out there, got into the sport, racing in general, never been to the track, thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I'm like, man, I got to get me more into watching this. We started watching it more and more. And now, like I said, I've been a diehard fan. I got, actually, I'm looking at them right now as we speak. The Ricky Stenhouse Jr. tires from his Talladega win and his Daytona win, which we do have signed by him and Jack Roush.
Boy, the perks of living in Michigan, huh?
Yeah, definitely, especially with the Roush Museum right down the street from where I'm currently living right now. June and August, they do an open house at his museum. See all the cars that he's won with. You got the Matt Kenseth Daytona 500 car there. The Kenseth Championship cars there. He's got a bunch of other cars, an old school Mark Martin Folgers car, who was my favorite driver, by the way, long time ago when he was racing.
Probably one of the greatest drivers to never win a cup championship.
That he was. And I remember going to the race the year his father passed away at Michigan. There was a late race caution. He was leading the race. Everybody comes down to pit road, takes tires. Gordon only took 2 tires and won that race. And I remember, though, the following weekend he won at Bristol. That was on the Roush Facebook page as well. And I'm like, oh, I remember that. He missed that win at Michigan. And I guess he said he just lost it in the car, just thinking about his old man and everything like that. But, yeah, he was one of my favorites. That was my dad's favorite. And to see him win in the Hendrick car out at MIS when Biffle and Johnson both ran out of gas, to see him win was cool.
For sure, for sure.
And then my brother just walked by me, who was a big NASCAR fan as well, said he's seen Martin win 3 times.
It's definitely special when you see a guy like Mark Martin win. The whole place erupts.
Oh, hell yeah, it does.
So, a little bit of my background on racing. I started watching racing probably, I'd say, back in 99, 2000. I actually learned how to count by the car numbers. I didn't ever really use numbers. I just used drivers' names to represent the number. So, racing's got a pretty early start in my life, in my background, and who I am. Always cheered for, well, I started off cheering for Gordon, and I'll come out right there and admit it to you. But after what happened at Daytona that February of 2001, it was kind of hard for me as a 5-year-old kid then not to cheer for the story of Junior, especially going back to Daytona just a few months later and winning that race. What an emotional night that was. Been to multiple races, Daytona a bunch of times, been to Charlotte, been to Atlanta. Definitely want to get to Bristol where they were at this weekend. That's a definite bucket list track of mine.
I was at Bristol in 2013. Casey Kane won that race, so had a blast. We went. It was the spring race. We had such a great time. It was myself, my brother, and our good buddy Jeff. We all went out to Bristol. We had a blast, and I would definitely recommend it. Anybody has not been to Bristol Motor Speedway to definitely check it out. It's one place definitely you guys see.
And not a bad seat in the house.
Yeah, no, there's not a bad seat in that house at all. For the Saturday race, it was, I think, the Nationwide Series at the time. We were on the backstretch, and we were going into turn 3. We were about 10 to 12 rows up, and we saw everything perfect. And then on our Sunday seats, we sat in the Wallace Tower, and on our tickets, it says gate elevator. And we're all like, gate elevator? What are you talking about? And we find out, looking at the seating chart, that we were sitting right up high between turns 1 and 2. We had a great view of the whole track, though. Those were great seats. It's just a place to go to for sure. Also, like you said, AJ, you've been to Daytona. That's definitely a track I got to get down to. Also, I've been to Kentucky and Charlotte, and I think, that's it on my resume. And obviously Michigan.
The best way I can describe Daytona to someone who's never been there before is it'll ruin every other track you ever go to, because you can't beat the speed, the danger that lurks at every corner, the pack racing. There's no other track like it besides, Talladega.
Oh, definitely. I want to go to Daytona, Talladega. The track I've been looking into a lot lately, My buddy Ryan, he went to the Martinsville. I think it was last year or the year before that, and he said he's like that place is awesome. So we're definitely thinking about doing Martinsville here in a couple years.
I want to go to the night race whenever
Yeah.
they install the lights in and do the night race deal there. That's definitely a track I want to go visit.
Plus, I heard the Martinsville hot dog's really good. If anybody out there has ever been to Martinsville and has tried the hot dog, feel free to contact the podcast. I'm sure AJ's got a website or a way to contact us.
Yeah, that actually that's a good segue. Follow us on Twitter. We're at Lugs Podcast, Lugs Podcast. You can like us on Facebook, the Loose Lugs Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Grey Goose F150. Ryan, trying to get you to get a Twitter, but
yeah, my brother said it's easy to sign up for, so I'll do that after this podcast.
yeah, and a little bit more about the podcast. We're fans. We're fans of the sport, like many of you out there are, and we just felt like it'd be fun for us to get together one night a week and just do nothing but talk NASCAR for however many minutes we ended up doing it for. But it all started realistically playing video games and talking about it. We figured why not go out and actually start recording ourselves and getting it out there to everybody.
That's right. Video games, PS4, Xbox One, represent.
That's right. If any of you want a game, just hit me up and I'll give you my gamer tag or PlayStation name.
Exactly. Same here. Also, we've been talking about doing something, not really dirt track, but like a local track you guys like to go to. For example, my fiance and I think it was a Memorial Day weekend. We were up in Houghton Lake, which is where her folks live, and also my dad just moved up there recently as well. We went to the dirt track, Merritt Speedway, and we had such a blast, a great time up there. We definitely enjoyed it. The dirt track feeling is definitely a different feeling. I know, AJ, I sent you some of the video on that, and that was definitely a different feel compared to like the big super speedway out at MIS.
Yeah, short track racing, there's nothing like it. It's local guys who, blue collar guys that work Monday through Friday just to get to Saturday where they can race. Nothing beats it. We are also talking about possibly having a third host. I've got a couple people in mind. We're going to have them, some reoccur. I'd also like to have some special guests. I know that we've got a couple possibly lined up. We'll get more into that in a couple later episodes, but so it won't always just be me and Ryan. We'll have once in a while an occasional guest or two on the show, so you won't get tired of our voices too quickly.
especially my voice too. I know that feeling. So AJ's got to deal with me on the X1 and the PS4. So
hey, it's all good, man. Let's get right into the Bristol recap. All right. Stage 1, 2, and 3, winners 18, 20, and then your eventual race winner, the 18. I tell you, for a 500-lap race, that one went by quick.
I think it went by quick due to the lack of cautions. I mean, normally you see bumping, beating, banging. I mean, there was a little bit of that back in the pack, but nothing up front.
Do you think the stages play into that?
I think the stages do play into that, but I tell you what. When they first announced the stage racing, when you had Gordon, Burton, Jr., Hamlin, and a couple other guys, Steve O'Donnell, and then a couple, I think Chitwood was there as well, and they announced the stage racing, and I'm like, I don't know about this stage racing. And I was going to give them to California to see what it's like. Actually, no, it was Martinsville. Excuse me, I take that back, Martinsville. I wanted to see them play out on the different tracks. I tell you what. Some of the stage racing I like a lot. I don't know about anybody else out there, but I'm definitely enjoying the stage racing, especially on these restarts. It's keeping the field together, minus Kentucky. I think the stage racing is good for the sport, actually. It's keeping the field together. The fans are interested in it, especially with the way they're awarding the point systems or the playoff point for the winners of the stages. If you look at it, I don't think Truex, if he doesn't mess up in the playoff, I think he's going to win the championship. I mean, I'm moving a little ahead of ourselves here, but go ahead, back with the Bristol conversation.
Well, going back to Truex, man, if he keeps keeping up the rate he's going, he might already be in the championship 4. And honestly, at that point, who do you ah oh
I know he won at Michigan. He won the second stage out there at MIS.
yeah, he's up to either 15 stage wins or 16 stage wins, some crazy number.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I I'm not personally a fan of the stages. I've felt like I've given it long enough. But that being said, those last 10 laps of that first stage Saturday night, what a battle!
Yes, it was. Back and Larson, Bush, back and forth, and plus with them catching the lap traffic. Also, I think it was the 77, Eric Jones, another Michigan native, to get back in there and almost win that stage too. I thought that was some good racing. Plus, Chase Elliott was in there too as well, wasn't he?
He was. Eric Jones, though, showing some definite promise in this sport. I tell you, he's going to win a lot of races.
That he is.
Yeah, but Larson and Bush beating and banging there a little bit. You know, not beating and banging, I should say, but they were putting the fenders to each other there a little bit towards the end. And Larson, to make the high lane work when all that VHT or VH1 on the bottom of the track, it was incredible. The kid's a magician behind the wheel.
Yeah, I don't think they know what they want to call that material. People are calling it, like you said, VH1. I've heard people calling it the V1. It's like, what? Just how about the stuff we're making the cars stick to the bottom of the track?
I'm not a fan of fabricating racetracks. You know, it's you gotta make the moves on the lines that are there for you. NASCAR doesn't need to step in and try to manipulate finishes, I guess you could say, like that.
Exactly. I think the reason why they're trying to do that, though, is they said on the broadcast, they want to try to make Bristol a multiple lane racetrack. No, make it a one lane track like it's always been.
It's always been a one lane track.
I remember watching what was it, Terry Labonte and Dale Earnhardt going back and forth when Earnhardt spun Labonte out and he won the race sideways across the finish line.
I was gonna say which year.
Yeah, then I think it was the following year, Earnhardt spun him out. And then he won the race. And that's the way Bristol was. That's why you've seen Bristol always packed. And I think with all these repaves, we'll get into that a little later.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. How about Kyle sweeping the weekend again at Bristol?
I wasn't surprised that he won the truck or the Xfinity race, though. I did pick him in Fantasy NASCAR, in our little Fantasy NASCAR we're doing. I think it's through ESPN, I think we're doing it through, or...
No, we're doing it through the NASCAR.com.
That's it. That's right. Thank you for correcting me. And you get to pick the winner, and I'm like, all right, I'm picking Kyle, and I'm picking Toyota. That's 2 weekends in a row I've done that right. I've obviously out of MIS, I was at that race. Great restart, by the way, for Kyle Larson. If anybody's never seen a restart live in person like that, oh man, that was a damn treat. My brother and I, we had turn one right as they're coming by us. I seen them go 3 wide, and I'm like, go. Great restart. And yeah, like we were saying though, with this new point system, I like it.
You know, we were supposed to record after the Michigan race, but you know we've had a couple setbacks here. We're finally getting to recording it, and that was what I was gonna say. Like I said earlier, Larson, the kid's a magician. He could put that car wherever he wants, and it'll stick.
Exactly. Same with Kyle Busch on the restarts too. Hey, like I said, we ain't bashing Toyota all the time, but hey, that kid can restart too with the best of them. Both those guys can.
It comes down to confidence. That's what I think it is. But he sweeps the weekend, wins the truck race, wins the Xfinity race. That's no surprise to anybody. It's like he's picking on little kids at the playground.
Oh yeah.
How about Kenseth's comments after the race? I know we were talking about that a little bit after the race. Do you think that was him joking around? I know he said it with a laugh, but it seemed like it was a little bit more personal than that. And if anyone didn't know, real quick, Ryan, his comment was, quote, "First he takes my job, then he runs into me," and he said it with a chuckle. But I'm curious if that was more personal than Kenseth led it to be.
I think it was more personal. I think he's trying to mean it as a joke, but deep down inside, he's like, this young kid's going to come in and take my ride? I don't think so. I think he meant it. I really do. I think maybe part of it was, he's joking around with it, but I do believe he meant it.
Kenseth is a guy who deserves a ride. You kind of felt that Jones had that 20 on lock even when he got into the 77 ride.
Oh,
God. And at that point, Kenseth is the odd man out. But Kenseth will find a ride somewhere. The guy's a past Cup champion.
Exactly. I'm surprised Hendrick didn't take a chance with him, though. Put him in the 5 car, let Byron take another year in the Xfinity Series. But I think Byron's ready.
That's how I thought it would happen, would be that Byron would have another year before he came in. But, hey, he's won what? What are you going, like a 3 out of 4 week span where he won?
Yeah, exactly. I remember those days.
So the kid's showing some promise, showing he's ready. I'm ready to cheer for him next year, to be honest with you.
Oh, I am too. See, yeah, because everybody's like, oh, yeah, Casey Kane in the 5 car. He's going to get wins. He's going to get wins, championships. How many wins does he have under Hendrick Motorsports here?
You know, I don't know the exact number. I thought it was 3, maybe 4, possibly 5.
I was at one of them at the Bristol race we went to. I remember that. And then he won the Brickyard 400 this year.
Here's the thing with that 5 car. It always seems like it's that stepchild of the Hendrick Motorsports operation.
Oh, yeah.
Besides the years when, Terry Labonte and Mark Martin were in there, that car really, it's a lack of speed. It never seems to get those good finishing positions, and if it's not a fuel mileage race, it's not going to be up in the top 5.
Exactly.
Speaking of Bristol, before we cap it off there, how about the Landon Castle crash? That was a lot harder of a hit than the cameras showed it to be.
Yeah, because when you see the replay, I think 2 of the tires got off the ground.
Driver's side.
Yeah, driver's side, yeah. And then he goes down the pit road, and I remember you messaged me. One of the guys had the pit tire.
Yeah, he brought a tire out. Like, what's the tire gonna do?
He was ready to change it, get her back out there. This is Bristol.
That is a dedicated man right there.
That's right.
He earned his paycheck.
And I'm glad he was all right, Landon Castle. That was a tough lick, though, for Bristol.
Yeah, that's a tough lick right there, as ZW would say.
Yeah, exactly.
And even Jeffrey Earnhardt and Austin Dillon had quite a wreck right there.
Yeah, it looks like a tire went down on the 3 car, and then Jeffrey nowhere to go. Plus, I think the speaking of which, the 5 car, I think he had a little damage from that incident too, because there's just nowhere to go. And I tell you what, that helmet cam that NBC and Fox are doing right now, that is spot on right there. You, like at Bristol, you can't see the 10 feet in front of you. And I like that aspect that they're bringing to the table now with the technology.
That helmet cam was awesome. It's been awesome for NBC all season. I think Fox started with the helmet cam a little bit towards the end of their
yeah, I think it was like Sears Point. I think it was Infineon or whatever they're calling the road course now.
Sonoma, yeah.
Sears Point. I still call it Sears Point. I'm an oldie. But yeah, like the Kurt Busch wreck at the Brickyard, when he had it, though, you just seen his head snap forward. It's like, and you got all these people, oh, I can do this. Yeah, watch this. Oh, wow, really? That's what it's like going 180 miles an hour and suddenly hitting something and stopping.
Yeah, I had to close my eyes watching that on the Kurt Busch at the Brickyard. That's tough to watch. And the violence of hitting another car going, 190 miles an hour?
Yeah, 190, 180, somewhere around there.
Man, it's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. Anyone who says NASCAR's not a sport, go back and watch that.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially that helmet cam, though. And then, like I said, at Bristol, it was great, though. See, the banking. Oh, where's the start-finish line? Oh, there it is. No, wait, we're going into the turn again.
Yeah.
That's how quick a lap goes there. 15 seconds, man. It's something else.
Like I said, that race went really quick. It's quicker than any 500-lap race I think I've ever watched. And it might be in part due to the stages.
The stages could have something to do with it.
Ending there with that, the chase outlook. 14th, 15th, 16th are Chase Elliott, Matt Kenseth, and Jamie McMurray. On the outside looking in, Clint Bowyer, Joey Logano with that encumbered win. Eric Jones and Daniel Suarez still have a technical, mathematical chance to get in. Any of those drivers there you see getting in without a win below that cut line?
Without a win, no. I see Chase. I see Chase getting in. Kenseth, I think he'll get in. McMurray, there's just something about him. I don't know what it is. Yeah, he's ran good all year. I don't think he's going to get in. I think Bowyer maybe even if Logano and them guys can find a little speed and get that win. And this is what I was watching the truck race Thursday, or yeah, it was Wednesday night. And Todd Bodine said it best. What is an incumbent win? What does that even mean?
Yeah, it's tough to put words in there that not every person knows the meaning for or can even pronounce. How can you make that an encumbered win?
Exactly. Now, here's the thing, too. He's like, why don't you just take away the win from the driver? Whoever finishes in second, give the guy in second that win.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Clint Boyer though, that it's a tough driver to predict he's going to get in on points. I think he needs a win. There's no way. I would predict Logano wins Richmond. That's the race Logano will win. He'll go back to Richmond. He always runs well there. Has 2 wins, asterisk on 1 in the last 2 years there, 3 years there. It seems like a Logano track. It's that rally killer track, I guess you could say.
Exactly.
The slump buster. That's what we'll go with there.
Slump buster. Yeah, because didn't I think it was a couple years ago, Edwards or somebody like that hadn't won in a while. Won at Richmond, the spring race, and went on and start winning races again. I think that was the first year he was at Gibbs, if I'm not mistaken. Like he hadn't won in a while in Roush.
Well, let's look at this. Suarez out unless he wins.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Jones is the that wild horse there that can unseat either, jump up above Boyer and Logano, maybe get in where McMurray is or Matt Kenseth. Jamie Mack, I think, needs a win.
I do too. I agree 100% on that.
I see Logano getting in. I think Chase is kind of a lock at 14. There's, 2 races left before the Chase starts.
Darlington and Richmond. Darlington's going to be a wild card, though, that's for sure. Darlington's always the wild card.
That's a track where the Toyotas of recent memory have just dominated there.
Yeah, Truex last year, and
there's Eric Jones' chance.
Yeah.
So Logano, like I said, I see him winning Richmond. Richmond's the track that gets him in there. So then your final 3 in the chase would be Chase, Logano, and Jones. What a field of 16 we'd have there.
No kidding. Well, we know one guy's not going to make the chase.
Well, I was just about to say, who do we think we can get in that's outside of those drivers listed there?
I'd like to see one driver, but I don't think he's going to win Darlington, and nor do I think he's going to win Richmond.
Does the 88 get a win in the next 2 weeks? Yes or no?
I say no. They've speed. The qualify 31st at Bristol. He moved up to 20th, and then he moved up to 6th. I don't even think he cracked the top 10. I know that, unless it was during the cycle pit stops.
It's tough to watch being an 88 fan how this final season has gone. It lacks speed off the truck. It lacks speed in practice. It lacks speed in qualifying. It lacks speed in the race. Where do we pick up speed at here, fellas?
I just think I think the missus and I, we were watching the Watkins Glen race, and I'm like, after he blew up, it's like, yeah, I'd like to see him go out, win a race or 2 here, but I just don't see it happening. I really don't. I think if he should have called it quits after Daytona, after the 500 this year.
I don't know so much as that. I question whether he should have came back at all this season.
That's true too. I know he wanted to win another 500 though. So
that, and he wanted to finish out his Hendrick contract, which was up at the end of this year. But it just seems maybe he's worried about his health too much. Him and Amy, worried about his health. He's kind of lost that mentality in the car to get up there, lead races, compete. It's like he's just cruising back there from 20th to 31st.
Yeah, it just seems like he's going to be mid-pack the rest of the year. So, maybe we'll see him hopefully pull one out at Talladega. So, it's where his next best chances to winning it.
That's how I feel. All I care about is it. You know what? If he wins that final plate race at Talladega, successful final season.
We'll be happy with it.
Yeah, I'll take it. Anyone else you see back there getting in? Trevor Bayne. He's been flirting in the top 5. He can't get in on points, but he can get in with a win.
Yeah, Michigan and Bristol. So
Don't forget the Brickyard too before he wrecked.
yeah. He was taken out at the Brickyard too. I remember that. Yeah, I've been a couple weeks between races. So
Yeah, now we have another off weekend this weekend. This only the second one of the year.
yep, I think we got the trucks are in Canada if I'm not mistaken, and then the Xfinity is at Road America, which is always a good track. I would like to see the Monster Energy Cup cars. I almost call it Sprint Cup. Been doing that quite a bit this year.
Seems like a lot are doing it this year.
Yeah, I'd like to see them go to Road America.
That'd be a fun track to see him go to. The track I want to see in there is Iowa, to be honest with you.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely Iowa. Definitely Iowa Speedway. That would definitely be a great track. That's why I'm ready for the new video game.
So, I'm scrolling through these standings, Ryan, to see who's back there that might have a shot. Well, on the NASCAR app, it doesn't show it as the playoff points. It just shows it as regular points right now. If the final race was this weekend, or last weekend, I should say, with Bristol, you know who wouldn't make the chase if it wasn't the way it was?
Who would that be?
Ricky Stenhouse Jr.,
Really?
Casey Kane, Austin Dillon, and that's really it out of the surprising ones that have won races this year. So the way the chase format is now is really helping those guys.
That it is. Hey, I like to see these first time winners. Yeah, Stenhouse at Talladega. That was great. Austin Dillon at Charlotte. Hey, fuel mileage race. Hey, can't complain about that. So
good to see the three back in victory lane where it belongs.
Yeah, definitely.
But Blaney too. Blaney at Pocono.
Well, yeah, that's one I was forgetting. Yeah, Blaney at Pocono. That was cool to see the Wood brothers back in victory lane. I don't think they're gonna do it with Paul Menard though.
No, I don't. Paul Menard's he brings sponsorship where he goes. That's really how he lands rides.
Exactly.
More power to him though. He's got more sponsorship than say Casey Kane does right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's how he's going to end up with rides. Who do you see Casey going to next year?
That's a toss up right now. I mean, he could do an Elliott Sadler, go to the Xfinity Series, run for an organization down there. I don't know. Same with Kenseth. I don't know where he's going to end up either.
There's not many Cup rides left.
No, there's not. Unless Ganassi funds a third team.
Do they extend out the field? Maybe past 40 cars? I know they're struggling to hit that 40 car limit now.
Yeah, because the first race out at MIS, I think there was only 37 cars, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
and then
38.
Yeah, and then the August race a couple weeks ago, I think there was 39 cars. It's like, can you make up your minds how many cars you want to get? I understand it's money, it's a business, everything like that. But you gotta think, NASCAR should be like, hey, bring your car to the track no matter what. If you get in, you get a set amount of dollars. If you don't make it, you get a set amount of dollars.
I agree. I can see that.
Fill these races up. Give the people what they pay for.
For sure. It's NASCAR's gone away from the blue collar roots, as I always say. They went more for the business outlook, and look where it's gotten them. Empty seats, sponsorship leaving.
Speaking of empty seats, I can tell you there's a reason why that is, the empty seating. For example, tickets are what? Anywhere between... Some tracks I see offering $35. I know Bristol this weekend had a deal for kids a certain age under for $10. Hey, it's not bad. But you got to think the adult tickets for that race, I think almost 100 plus maybe, depending on where you're sitting. I know the tickets we got in June were $80. You got to think a family of four at $80 a ticket right there. Plus, if you're coming from out of state, hotels jack up their prices. The camping's not bad price-wise. I think the year my buddies and we camped out at MIS, I think it was $100. So between the four of us, $25 a person, which isn't bad. You could start camping the Monday of the race and leave the following Monday as well after the race. I just think with the hotel prices, where it's at, I think that's why you're seeing a lot of the empty seats too, was because of the high ticket prices and the high hotel prices.
Really, why go to a race that you're going to spend, $400, $500 just being at the track. Hotel, track, souvenirs, food, concession. You know, instead of go ahead. Well, instead of staying at home, and watching it, getting a better view sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Like when we were at Bristol, we stayed. I think it was a Motel 6. What's that, Scott? Oh, thank you, my brother from the other bedroom. A budget inn. We were there to eat, on occasions, sleep, shower, everything else, and sleep. They double charged us. It was incredible how much they charged us.
Yeah, the race weekends it's starting to turn into an NFL weekend. Like a Super Bowl weekend, every race.
Exactly. My brother just came out here and said, compared to the other prices around the area, that was one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest. Oh, it was the cheapest. Scott said he spent a month. Sorry, he's talking to me as I'm talking to you. He spent a month looking for a room with smoking, obviously, and oh, you weren't looking for smoking. My fault. So, yeah, it was like they. That's why I think just because of the high ticket prices and hotels is why you see the attendance down.
It's definitely. I don't know if you could say that it's hurting the sport. The racing, though, the rule changes every year.
Oh, that too, yeah.
There's so many driving factors that are removing fans from the stands.
Scott, my brother, ding freaking ding when you said about the rule changes every year. Yeah, there's too many rule changes. And then, speaking of rule changes, my old man called me the other day. You want to know what NASCAR wants to try to do here in the next few years?
What's that?
You know how the IndyCar, when they come down to pit road, they hit the button and the car jacks up itself?
I read this. I read this last week with the air jacks.
Yeah, NASCAR wants to try that.
You're taking away from the human aspect of racing at that point.
Exactly. I understand why. Yeah, I understand why NASCAR or why the IndyCar do that, because their cars are so damn low to the ground anyway. You couldn't get a jack underneath there. But why?
Yeah. Speaking of rule changes, today it was Steve Miller on the Sirius XM NASCAR radio coming up today talking about the cone rule possibly making its way to NASCAR, the good old short track cone rule.
Really?
Yeah. For those that don't know what the cone rule is, short track fans know it as at every caution with one to go. I think it's one to go. They put a cone in the middle of the track. You can choose either the high side, the low side to restart on, no matter where you're starting at. So basically, you could be in 8th and still restart on the second row. Say no one takes the inside or the high side. And the reasoning for this was because of that whole pit road incident with Hamlin, Elliott, and Busch coming out of the pits because Hamlin was trying to get in I think it was, the low side or the high side?
Yeah, I think it was the low side. Yeah, he wanted to get the high side, and he slowed down, and then he got stuck on the low side or something. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, yeah. And he tried to brake check, and he lost 2 spots, and then he still had to start on the side he didn't want to start on anyway.
Yeah, because he got screwed up there by, what was it, Busch going past him?
Yeah.
So the short, I like the rule.
I do too.
I'd like to implement that. There's no problem with that.
But here's the question, though. What about if everybody wants to start on, say, up high? What are you going to do? Go back to single file restarts?
Now, would you see that, though? You got guys like Larson in there, Stenhouse. They try to mix things up and go low. Even Chase Elliott, I could see doing it.
Uh-huh.
Now, they're talking about maybe only doing it for certain racetracks. I don't think you could do it for the restrictor plate tracks.
No, not a chance.
But you go to these short tracks, Bristol, Martinsville, even some of the other tracks you got, like Phoenix, you could do it at.
Anything like the mile and a half.
Dover, you could do it at. Heck, Homestead for the championship. Could you imagine that? That besides,
Ended here. I think that'd be something. That would be something to tinker with if you want to do something like that.
I like
Try
to see it.
to go in the truck series first, see how it works. Like last year with the, I think it was last year, the trucks, when they did that 20-minute clock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the caution clock.
Yeah, the caution clock. I enjoyed that, actually.
Yeah, the caution clock wasn't bad. There's some points of the race where the racing would get interesting, and you were upset to see the caution clock come out.
Yeah, exactly.
Which then that's why they broke it up with the stages now. But other news coming out of the sport today. Did you hear Stephen A. Smith's comments on First Take?
I personally don't listen to what Stephen A. Smith says anyway.
Well, he brought up the Confederate. The topic was the Confederate flag in NASCAR, and right then and there, I just there's certain topics that shouldn't be discussed in sports, and that being one of bringing race into sports, especially on like national programming like that. I don't see any business being there.
I don't either.
Boy, do I agree with that.
Hey, that's our third host of this night, Scott Rancola.
Yeah, apparently. Scott, say hello. But Stephen A, for a man who knows nothing, to me, this is my opinion, knows nothing about the sport of NASCAR. I don't know how many races the man's ever watched in his life, or even been there.
Us with fans, he doesn't want to admit it that he watches it. I mean, I know there's people that like, hey, I watch, for example, I like my buddy, hey, I watch tennis, but he doesn't want anybody to know he watches tennis.
Does he get tennis elbow watching tennis?
He might, I don't know.
But do you think they should remove it? Since he brought it up, let's discuss it. Should they remove the Confederate flag from the infields at NASCAR races?
With what's going on in the world these days, you could remove it though, but there's going to be people at some of these tracks, like for example Bristol, where we were just at, especially Kentucky. When I was down in Kentucky, they asked people to remove the Confederate flag from the infield, and we were at the Kentucky race the year Kyle came back after he broke his leg at Daytona, and he won that race right before the repave, I might add. And I must have counted over 200 Confederate flags flying, not only in the infield but on the parking lot, just around in the stands. A lot of Confederate flag shirts. One of the gentlemen we went with, they were selling them at a gas station. It was a white shirt and it was a black shirt, and they all had the Confederate flag, but it said, "This is Kentucky Speedway," stuff like that. It was a cool looking shirt, don't get me wrong, but with what's going on in today's society, you could try to get them to take it down, but there's people are not going to want to take it down.
You're just going to start a bigger argument to me.
Go ahead, AJ.
You're just going to start so much more drama in the middle of the infield of tracks if you start asking fans to take it down.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always been a part of the sport. How many races have you been to where you see the infield just covered in it? It's always, to me, it's
Talladega. Oh man, watching 90s races at Talladega, all over that infield.
Yeah, I don't. To me, the flag, the best way I could put it, the flags didn't fight the war.
Yeah, exactly.
To other people, that flag means different things. It doesn't always mean the racial aspect of things.
Exactly. Like I said, there's going to be tracks that are going to ask people to take them down, but it's not going to happen. We all know it's not going to happen. So,
yeah, I'm going to try not to get. We're not going to try to get into the political aspect of things on this podcast, but it just so happened it came up on ESPN today when I was looking at it. So, we have a TV at work, and it's always on the subtitles, so I couldn't really read who was saying what, so I can't give you any quotes from it. But I just saw the headline up there, and I'm just thinking, man, this has no business being on ESPN, on this show, being discussed in any sort of way.
Exactly.
But let's look ahead, man. NASCAR off this weekend. Darlington in 2 weeks. What? How do you plan on spending the off weekend?
Probably watching the truck race from Canada. That was a great race last year between Cole Custer and John Hunter Nemechek when they were right coming across the line, and Custer chasing after Hunter Nemechek.
Custer with the spear at the end.
Yeah, Custer with the spear.
All the wrestling fans were happy.
Yes, we were. Yes, we were. And then probably Sunday, watched Little Road America. Maybe hang out with the fiance. Probably gonna watch the little bit of the Lions Pats game Friday night at Ford Field.
Oh, that's right, Friday night. You know what? That's my draft night. I'll be at Wild Wings watching it.
Oh, nice. Fantasy football. That's right.
Yeah. Well, then you got Saturday, the Mayweather-McGregor fight.
Yeah, if I can find somewhere cheap to watch it, maybe find a stream of it, I will probably try to do that. Hey, AJ.
Yes, sir.
Did you by chance watch any of the IndyCar race at Pocono?
I did not. You know what? I just hearing about it now. I forgot about it.
Yeah, it was one of the more entertaining Pocono races they had. They had multiple lead changes. It was a really entertaining race for sure.
Hey, while we're recording this podcast, I've got the Giants-Browns game on in the background.
Oh, do you?
Odell Beckham just took a hit right at the knee. Came up off the field limping.
Uh-oh.
Helmet to the knee. But you know what? They're showing him now. He doesn't look like he's walking with a limp. But you know what? I bet you he doesn't go back in tonight.
No, it's preseason.
Yeah.
Week 2, no.
Boy, I hope they don't. He's one of my top 3 picks that I want to make Friday.
Well, right now I got Monday Night Raw on right now on the background, and it's Elias Sampson versus R-Truth.
Oh, the Drifter, eh?
Yeah, the Drifter. That's right.
So,
but yeah, like I said, that the IndyCar race on Sunday, I was going back and forth between that, and I think we were watching Property Brothers. I know we went to the Home Depot, everything good along those lines, and it was an entertaining race. A lot of lead changes.
Who ended up winning that race? I saw some tweets after it about was it a move that Hinchcliffe made?
Yeah, he wrecked, unfortunately, but it was Power that won. Newgarden was second, and then Rossi was third. I think that was the top 3, if I'm not mistaken. And then I think they're going to I think IndyCar's at Gateway Saturday night.
No, a track that NASCAR used to run at.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Back in the day.
Third season's almost done, the IndyCars.
Yeah, they're right there.
Yeah, I think they got after this weekend they got Watkins Glen, and I think they go to Sonoma for their final race. And I think the IndyCar series is done.
Oh yeah. I think maybe Sunday I'll go maybe hit the links.
Ah, yes, Golf 18. There you go.
Get some golfing in. It's been a while.
Exactly. Well, I know tomorrow I gotta head to the dentist. I gotta get a root canal done.
Oh boy, good luck with that.
Yeah, thanks. That's doesn't sound like too much fun, but it's got to get done.
Well.
With dental insurance now, you got to take it where you can get it.
I hear you, man. Well, we're getting near. We're about 10 minutes away from this thing being in about an hour long, so we're gonna try to wrap it up here. It's been, I think, a successful first episode. This is gonna be like a learning episode for us because there's times where I've noticed where I've been talking over you, and we'll work out the kinks. This is just episode 1, man.
I got the jitters.
Yeah.
Hey, the weekly episodic podcast.
Yeah, that's right. This has been a long time coming. I'm definitely excited to do this. You know, no matter how many views we get, it's all for the hobby and how fun it is for us to do this and put it out there. So if we hit 10 people, I'm happy with it.
Exactly. So here's another question I have for you. What do you think about all these repaves?
All the repaves? I don't want Atlanta repaved. That's for sure. That track the racing there has gotten so much better over the years. A track like Kentucky with all the bumps, that one kind of needed it to me. What are the other repaves coming up? I'm trying to think.
They got a couple of them coming. I know they've been talking about Atlanta, like you said, Atlanta for the longest time. A lot of the drivers don't want it.
Atlanta, asphalt's weird, man. The more years you put on it, the better the racing gets. No matter how much it starts cracking and breaking up.
Exactly. And it's funny too. Now I got the TV on and a Wrangler commercial came on.
Oh, was it a junior one?
Unfortunately, Junior was not in it. All right, I think we should wrap this one up right here.
Yeah, just real quick. There's a couple people I'd like to thank, for their support through this and their help. Definitely my parents I'd like to thank, always being supportive of whatever ideas I have. My family included in that, without a doubt, always been there for me. Girlfriend, who's been supportive since day one.
Is she next to you now?
No, she's not. She's actually asleep, but nonetheless, man, she's always pushed me, even when I thought we weren't going to get this off the ground. She was there. I got a couple friends that have helped with this. My buddy of mine, Zach, made the logo for this, which you all can tell whose vehicle that is, but for copyright reasons, we won't say whose it is. My buddy Adam came over last night and got us set up with the recording equipment and all that, and taught me how to use it. So, thanks to him for getting this off the ground, really. And last but not least, and they'll know who they are when they're mentioned here, the crew.
That's right.
So, with that being said, guys, we thank you for tuning in. If you've stayed with us this long, we'll be back. I want to do an episode next week, a little preview to the throwback at Darlington Sunday night.
Darlington throwback.
Yeah, we got to do our...
The booth, they always dress up in their throwback gear, too. That's always kind of fun to see as well.
I wonder if Ned Squire gets in there. Ned Squire, Ned Jarrett.
Ken Squire,
I'm sorry. It's been a long episode. Ned Squire.
I want to thank a couple people, too, as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to thank you, for inviting me to do this, since you know how much we both love racing. We always get bashed on it in the crew.
That's for sure.
I think, I want to thank my parents again, bringing me up right. Fiance for letting me talk loud like this while she's trying to sleep when she's got to be up at 4:45 in the morning. Like you said, we're going to get some cool guests. I'll even talk to my brother, see if he wants to help us out with a couple episodes. Talk to Jeff, see if he wants to help us out with some episodes as well.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Get those guys on here.
We're going to have some fun. So, is there a way we can take calls on this, do you know?
I can. I'm just learning the basics of recording this, so
all right.
Give it a couple episodes, I'll learn how to do it, and we'll get that taken care of.
Get some calls, we'll get some emails, we'll get some tweet. I'll create a Twitter after this episode, actually.
For whoever listens to this first episode, we'll take a poll on what Ryan's Twitter handle should be.
Oh,
here we go. We're getting people into this now.
Oh, geez. How many people are listening anyway?
Who knows? I couldn't tell you until we put it up. But like I said, it don't matter how many people listen to this. It's all out of fun for me.
Enjoy it. We like this. We love the sport enough to talk about it. Plus, like we said, we can talk from NASCAR to the Xfinity Truck Series, IndyCar, dirt tracks.
You remind me there of someone I forgot to thank. Actually, two people I like to thank, and it's a total of 4 people, but I'll thank them by their podcast handles, the Lap Traffic Podcast and the PETM Podcast. All 4 of those guys on their respective shows have really helped me, set this up and get ideas out there and what I would need to get this set up. They were real helpful, and I appreciate it, and I can't thank them enough.
Exactly.
It's NASCAR fans helping NASCAR fans. We're a tight group. We always stick together.
That we do.
So with that being said, if you like this episode, give us a rating. This will be up on Podbean. Once we get 3 episodes in, we'll be uploading to iTunes. Tweet at us. We gave you the Twitter handles earlier, at Lugs Podcast, at Grey Goose F150 on Twitter. Facebook, like us, the Loose Lugs Podcast. Tweet us, #LugsPod.
I love that, LugsPod.
LugsPod. With that, just want to let you know, y'all take care. Ryan, thanks for being here tonight.
Thanks for having me. And who's the one that came up with the Loose Logs name anyway?
I'm gonna be selfish and say it was me.
I thought I was the one that did it.
I think it was collective.
Yeah, we both. Yeah, I was trying to toot my own horn there, so.
we gotta do that once in a while. Keep the egos in check.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you know what? Y'all have a good weekend. You know, we'll talk to y'all next week.
And we'll see you at the track.
See you out there.